Welcome back. You're listening to At Your Service here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. I'm your friend, Vernon Derby, and coming up right now is Traveling the World.
It's so long I have been a traveling man.
And of course, my very special guest. I'm not too sure which country he's from. He's probably from the whole world. Yes, you'll understand why when we start to get to know him more. That's Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, a retired senior World Bank official, and former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation, right here in Jamaica. Mr. Mian, how are you, sir?
I am fine. Thank you, Vernon, and good morning, and all the best to you.
Good to you. And how is your beautiful wife?
Thank you.
Yes, I says, how is your beautiful wife?
Oh, she is great. She sent love for you. She is up with the grandchildren
Yes.
in Orlando, and she will be back on maybe on Friday. And I talked to her. I told her I was going to talk to you, and she says, "Oh, we go a long way back." And she has a great admiration for you.
Yeah, she knew me from when I was a boy.
Your voice keeps breaking. I don't know
Yes.
if the connection is bad or something.
Right. No, we want to learn more about you because you have a very unusual name, and I hope that I pronounced it correctly, Zia Mian.
Yes, you are pronouncing it perfectly.
Okay.
You seem to have a command of all these words and languages.
Well, I try my best. No, tell me, where you get that name from? Where you from, actually?
No, I didn't tell you. Hello?
Where you from? Where were you born?
Oh, I was born in India back before partition, and then I migrated to Pakistan when the partition took place. I don't know if you know why we had to move, but India was ruled by British, and there were two nations basically, Muslims and Hindus, which were Hindus were majority, Muslim minority, and then when the British were leaving India and India was going to get independence, the issue was that should it be one country or two nations, and the two nation theory had been in prevalence since the 1905, when Lord Curzon was the Viceroy of India. And the Muslims wanted a separate homeland. And they created, when the British left, they divided India between two countries, Pakistan and India. And Pakistan was divided into two parts.
Bangladesh.
East Pakistan and Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh. At that time, it was East Pakistan, because the basis on which the partition took place was that the Muslim majority areas or the provinces with Muslim majority will go to Pakistan,
Yes.
and the all Hindu majority areas will go to India.
Wow.
So the partition took place in 1947, and the Bengal was divided into two parts, East Bengal and West Bengal. Again based on the Hindu and Muslim majority. So the East Bengal became East Pakistan, and there was the four provinces in the west of India, western part of India, which was Balochistan, Sindh, and North Frontier, and Punjab. They became West Pakistan.
Right.
Originally, Kashmir was also a Muslim majority, but this was a princely state. So the Raja of Kashmir decided that he was going to go with India, while the Muslim majority didn't want to go with India. They wanted to be part of Pakistan. So that became a sort of a disputed territory, and it still is disputed.
Yes,
So-
still is. Can you imagine that? Wow. And by the way,
And then-
India, as far as I know, India is one of the first country in the Commonwealth to become independent. I'm almost sure.
Yes, that is right. It's 1947.
Yeah.
And when the partition took place, it was hoped that, it will be a peaceful partition. But at the partition time, 14.7 million people were homeless and displaced. And they moved across the borders.
Really?
Oh, yes. It was unbelievable. It was the largest human migration in the history of mankind.
Wow.
And during this move, about 2 million people died. They were killed or lynched. And
Killed by who?
Because, Hindus and Muslims both died. Hindus killed Muslims, Muslims killed Hindus, and they had been living together for centuries as, neighbors and all that. But at the partition, it was on the religious basis on which the partition took place. And then and I was about 5-year-old, and we moved from India to Pakistan. We locked our homes, took padlock, thinking that we are coming back to the homes, but there was no coming back. I had my younger sister was 2-year-old. My father put her on his shoulder, and I and all the children and the family. It was about a caravan of about 80,000 people which moved from India to Pakistan. And it was a 16-mile walk. We children walked. But while we were walking, my father missed me, and he thought that I was left back at home. So he had to go back.
Oh, no.
Risking his life to search for me. Didn't find, and I was with other cousins. So when he came back and he found me, the first thing they did was they tied our hands with a string and tied the string around their waist so that we don't get lost.
I'm trying
We
to.
crossed the...
I'm just trying to imagine how he felt. And can you imagine thousands of persons walking for 16 miles? But it just seems as the way of the world. We have been harsh with one another, even in Jamaica here, because we had our troubles here in the 70s and the 80s. Right across Africa, you have this situation there, and we wonder, it's amazing how the world has developed, and literally on the blood of human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is correct.
How do you go to school, for example? How do you get to attend school and to get yourself qualified?
Okay. Well, they're talking of blood. When we crossed the border, and we camped there, one of my uncles, he went to get water from the river because that was the only water available, and I accompanied him. And imagine, the color of the water was crimson with the blood of people who were killed. 15,000 people who were the tail end of that particular caravan were lynched by the people from the other side. And that is what happened. So then we moved to Pakistan.
So hold on, Mr. Blood in the river. So you had to, you drank that water?
No, we couldn't drink that water. We had to go all the way upstream to try to get, cleaner water. But it was still polluted, And this was a nightmare. And then I see what is happening on the southern border in the United States.
Yes.
My heart bleeds, to think that these people who are coming and they are treated the way they are treated, they had reason to come. And we had a reason to move in India, from India to Pakistan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So then we moved to Lahore, which was a bigger city at that time. But my father had a large contingent of family because a lot of people were missing. And he was the only male at that time who was leading this whole clan. And he could not work and go and stand in lines and try to get food.
Yes.
So he moved to the interior of Pakistan. And in order to move, we camped at a railway train station for 3 days before we could get on the roof of the train to move to the interior of the country. And that is after paying some money and some bribe to somebody to help us get there. So that is how we got. And we came to the country with only the clothes we had on our back, and had to rebuild our life. And
And
when I
after
went
all
to
of that,
school,
you
yeah.
come to Jamaica and you served us well. It's just amazing.
Uh,
Go ahead.
yeah. So I went to school in Pakistan. I did my, and if we didn't have socialized education, the free education, I don't think I would have been able to go to school. My tuition fee was paid. I earned some scholarships and did my master's. And then once I did my master's, after that, I did some research for a few years with the government, and then joined Exxon or ESSO, which is the oil company.
So, okay.
And, yeah, and that is where I got the taste for energy, because after I worked with the Exxon for 6 years, and that is where I learned everything about the energy sector.
Right.
And then I moved to United States, and from there I came to Jamaica in 1972. And
I wonder if it's that beautiful lady who drew you to this country or attracted you to this country. I wonder. You don't have to stalk your business out.
Well, I met her at that time, a Jamaican lady in New York, and she introduced me to Jamaica.
Okay.
But remember, people don't realize that the discovery of Jamaica actually was based on trade with India.
Right.
They were looking for a route to India, and the Indian spices and all that were
Exactly.
coming to Europe. And so Columbus was in search of a route to India and traveled westward and ended up in Jamaica and in the West Indies, and called it West Indies because he thought
He was
on
in
the west coast of India.
Yes.
And,
I'm going to go for a break, you
is-
see. And when we come back, I understand that there is a link between your country and ours in terms of, persons call it our national costume, but it really isn't as far as I know. The bandana. I understand that in India, they used to have to send the cotton to the United Kingdom, and they made it into bandana. And one of your fighters who fought for independence, Gandhi?
Yes, Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
Yeah, bandana is a very old tradition. As a matter of fact, originally it was used to hold your hair so that they don't fall around, because you have long hair, people weren't cutting.
Right.
And it was very common with these bandits.
hold
They wore the bandana, and then it became an ornamental garment, and it is sort of became a proxy for cap or turban.
All right. I tell you what, going to go for the break. When we come back, you see, Zia, you can tell us more about that and the link with Jamaica. All right. Talking with Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, retired senior World Bank official and former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation. Oh, you are in Jamaica. I'm your friend, Vernon Derby, saying to you, soon come back. Don't move. Welcome back. You're listening to At Your Service here on Nationwide 90 FM. Yes, it's traveling the world and hearing a bit of Indian music. I think it's called Mas Kwalanda. My guest is Zia Mian. Am I correct? What's the music there? It's called Mas Kwalanda, right?
Mast Kalanda, Tamatam Mast Kalanda.
Yes.
That is this is a sort of a devotional song. And Qawwali is the devotional type of music which is played, and this one is by Nusrat Fateh Ali, who died, but he was considered one of the greatest vocalists and had a tremendous voice, and the range of frequencies in his voice, it was unbelievable. He also, I think, did some songs for the Hollywood movies,
Yes.
and the title songs and all that.
Well, we're talking about, before we went for the break, talking about the bandana and the history of the bandana and the link to Jamaica, and the fact that, as you know, one of our folklorists, the Honorable Miss Lou, used to wear the bandana. Tell us more about that and the link with Gandhi and the controversy with that, and the fact that Gandhi made sure that he wore a white, what do you call that now?
Gandhi made what?
He wore just a cut white material, and he actually wove it himself.
No, that is, Gandhi started a movement which was called the Swadeshi movement, which meant that it was he believed he was a pacifist. He did not believe in violence, and he wanted to do everything peacefully. And so the civil disobedience movement was that everything they will wear will be basically the Indian made. Swadeshi means the locally made. And he started spinning the wheel and making thread, then weaving it, and then after weaving he made the clothes out of it, really not sewing them, but he just made long sheets which he could wrap around, like a dhoti. And you will realize that when he traveled to UK, he was basically in a very small sort of lion cloth, and he had this very narrow or scanty wrap around, and he got away with it. And that was his way of expressing the movement for independence and asking the foreign power to leave. And so the movement started a long time back. It started sometime in the early 20th century, and then we came to culmination by 1947.
Yes.
And he was one of the main. He did not believe in that there should be a partition of India.
Oh, okay.
He wanted the India should be, Hindu and Muslims should be together. They cannot. They are brothers and they are sisters, and there's no need for the partition. And the two-nation theory was basically the culmination of, as I mentioned earlier, of the time when the Lord Curzon was the viceroy, and he gave what we call the legislative voting on a two-nation basis, the Muslims and Hindus, and he divided the Bengal into East and West, because the West Bengal was more Hindu majority, and East Bengal was a Muslim majority. So they had the legislative discrimination, which was undone by Lord Minto, who became the viceroy after him because he had to leave. There was protests. But the seats for the two nations were sown at that time. And so the Muslim League started during, I think, 1907 and 1908. And the Muslim League wanted that there should be a separate nation of Pakistan. And so the discussions continued, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the leader of the Muslim League, he pressed for a separate nation for Pakistan. And but Gandhi did not agree, but Patel was the one who said, no, I think it is the best that we two nations separate. And now let me give you, there is some historical background to this. Hindu society is based on a caste system. There are four castes are Varna, which are Varna basically is based on the religious segregation on color.
Oh,
So it's yes, and the four classes were Brahmas. Brahmins
go slowly for me.
was
What's the first
highest
class? Go slowly. What's the first class?
Brahmins. First caste is the Brahmins.
Mm-hmm.
Brahmins is the priests who are the highest class, and they run the temple, the church, and they are the advisors to the rulers. And then was the Kshatriyas, who were the fighters and the rulers. That was the elite.
Mm-hmm.
And they got their advice from the Brahmins, who were the priests and the highest class. Because Brahman is considered the head of the body, Kshatriyas are considered the hands of the body, and then was the Vishyas, who were the artisans and the peasants and all that, and they were the body, and then the Shudras, and the Shudras are the untouchables, who were the foot of the body, and they were they were basically a labor class.
Where's the untouchables? What do you mean?
I explain to you. This is a very deep-rooted issue which caused this segregation and the two-nation theory. So what happened is that let me just go to the Shudras. Shudras were actually the original Indians, original people, original Indians. When the Aryans came from Central Asia, migrated to India, and what they did was they pushed the local population back to south, and they enslaved them.
Oh,
They put them, and that is how. And they were then considered Shudriyas. They were untouchable because if you touch them, you become unclean.
what?
Now,
Really?
oh yes, and I give you an example. Then when the Muslims came into India during the 7th century, and they moved through the western part of India, and they were coming basically to loot the temples because temples had a lot of money.
Yes.
And then because all the wealth was concentrated in these Hindu temples, which were run by the Brahmins. So once Muslims came, and there were the Sufi teachers who came with Muslim invaders, and they started spreading teaching. They were missionaries. They started teaching Islam. So the lower class Hindus, who are the untouchable, as the Islam offered them equality, because Islam is there is no color or race division in Islam.
Yes, in Islam.
So there's a brotherhood. So all of them, they started very quickly converting to Islam. Similarly, when the British came and the British missionaries converted, most of the Christian converts were the low-class Hindus or the untouchables. Now, although the Muslims became the rulers of India, there was no integration between Muslims and Hindus.
Mm-hmm.
Muslims became untouchable, and if you went to a Hindu home, a Muslim went to a Hindu home, as soon as he walked out, they had to cleanse the house. And the cleansing was done by cow dung and cow piss, because that is the sacred part of the whole thing. So the not having integrated, when the British took over rule from Muslims, which is the Mughal Empire back in the 19th century, the Muslims became sidelined, and when the British were leaving, Muslims had a feeling that the Hindus will not treat them equally.
Yes.
Because they have always treated them as the untouchables.
Untouchables, right.
Third, right. And that was the basis on which the two-nation theory was developed. And if you look at today, with Narendra Modi, who is the now Prime Minister of India,
Mm-hmm.
you are back to exactly the same situation, because he's a Hindu nationalist. He doesn't want to, and he has seen and watched the Muslims being lynched in his own state, in Gujarat, as well as when Trump was visiting India just a few weeks back, 27 Muslims were lynched in New Delhi. And the Muslims cannot have the same rights as the Hindus have because it's a Hindu nation. And so the Muslims felt very threatened that if they stayed in India, they will be discriminated, and they will not have the same opportunity, economic, social, or otherwise, to be able to remain equal part of India. So they decided they wanted to get a separate country. So, and that is what happened there.
And but all of this, I'm going to go for the break now. Just amazing the role that the whole colonization had to do with all of this, and even after so many years, because I understand that the caste system still exists to some extent.
Oh yes, it does. It is actually entrenched into the religion, and it was transformed basically by the elite, the ruling elite, because ruling elite wanted to protect itself and wanted to remain on top. They said it was a birthright, it was a religious right to remain the elite and rulers. It was not that the accident of their, becoming educated and all that. But the education and all that things have changed. The social media has made a lot of changes. But reality is that what is in your mind and what is the background and what is in your part of your upbringing, it's not easy to go.
To get rid of it. Oh, it's just amazing in this modern day and age. But it seems to have been the way of the world. Jamaica, Africa, South Africa specifically. It's just amazing. Yeah. Wow, what a lesson we're learning this morning. And it wasn't as rough in Jamaica, but we have had our own experience too. And then we are learning now that the role that persons use religion, it's amazing. It's supposed to unify the world, but religion is sometimes used to divide us and conquer us. It is just amazing. Gonna go for the break right now. My very special guest is Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, retired senior World Bank official, and former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation. When we come back, I want us to take a look at Pakistan, what Pakistan is like now, and you compare Pakistan to the United States and to Jamaica. I'd love to. You have been back, right?
Yes, I've been back. I go almost every year, but for the last 5 years I haven't been back.
All right. When we come back, we talk about India and Pakistan. You know, all we know about India and Pakistan is cricket, lovely cricket. So we don't know about the harsh realities of these countries have developed over the years. Gonna go for the break, so come back. Don't move. Welcome back. You're listening to At Your Service here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. I'm your friend, Vernon Derby, and I'm having a conversation with Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, retired senior World Bank official, and the former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation right here in Jamaica. And we're talking about some countries, massive population, I think it's 300 and odd. I think Pakistan, I'm trying to remember, it's 200 and something million. I know that India has 1.3 billion.
Yeah, about 225, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And, as I mentioned that, and we'll look at Pakistan somewhere. I'm just saying to myself, we have to pray for those countries that COVID-19 don't even as much as look on those countries, because India, for example, with such a population and with a level of poverty that exists in certain parts of that country, I wonder what would happen if that virus should ever reach to the... It has, I think, but if it ever takes root in it, oh boy. Anyway, let's tell us a bit more about Pakistan today. What is that country like? Is it stable politically? What's life like? What's it?
Pakistan's history has been very sad in terms of after partition, what we call the independence. Pakistan did not have a stable democratic government.
Yes.
Whereas in India, democracy remained, and they were continuously having elections, and they did not have the kind of problems which Pakistan faced. When Pakistan, during the 50s, there was a coup, and Ayub Khan took over and became military ruler and dictator. He continued until in the 60s, and then there was election which took place, and in that election, the Awami League, which was the party from Bangladesh, now Bangladesh at that time, East Pakistan, they won the majority. And Bhutto, who was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was father of Benazir Bhutto, he won majority in West Pakistan, but the overall majority in Pakistan was Awami League, led by Mujibur Rahman from East Pakistan, and they refused to give him power, and that was sad, very sad, and that resulted in a separation of India, of Bangladesh from Pakistan. And remember, going back to the partition took place only on the basis of religion.
Right.
It had nothing to do with language or ethnicity or color or anything. It was just religion. And I don't think you can have a country, one country on the basis of religion alone. If religion was the basis on which everybody, you could have one country, then the entire Middle East should be one country, which is not so. So I don't think it, and then there was 1,000 miles between East and West Pakistan of the alien territory or the Indian territory. And so seeing that these two countries could be one, their language was different, ethnicity was different, only religion was in common, and then they refused to give power to Mujibur Rahman, and that was a biggest mistake they made. And Zulfikar became the Prime Minister of Pakistan, which was a half Pakistan. The other part went and became Bangladesh and declared their own independence, and Mujibur Rahman became the Prime Minister there. Now, this was a sad situation, but Zulfikar Ali was the first democratically elected Prime Minister, and he didn't last that long. By 1977, Ziaul, well, my namesake, have no relation of mine. Ziaul Haq, who was a general, he put Zulfikar Ali behind the bars and took over the power.
Wow.
And ultimately, Zulfikar Ali was hanged for known or unknown crimes.
Yes.
I knew the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, who actually pronounced the judgment, and I had a long talk with him once. I said, "How could you do that?" It was such a. He said, "Well, his hand was tied because Zulfikar Ali refused to defend himself. All the evidence which was presented against him, he didn't refute it. He didn't put a defense. He thought that he was above the law and he should not be touched. He didn't need to defend himself.
Okay.
And there was nothing he could do. Ziaul Haq continued until later in the 80s. He died. He crashed. His helicopter crashed. Rumors are that he was shot down.
Yeah, that is not a questionable circumstance. I think I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, he was in Bahawalpur visiting, and he had also the American ambassador was with him, and he gave him a ride back. and he was also killed. But they say that I don't want to say there on the air because there are a lot of rumors about a conspiracy.
Right, right.
So I don't want to subscribe to any conspiracy. But he was killed. And then Benazir Bhutto became the prime minister, and she did not last too long either. And there was a lot of corruption and all that. Then Mian Nawaz Sharif came back, and then Musharraf, it was another military general who took over, and then we have the dictatorship again.
Wow.
So Pakistan has been going through the roller coaster in political stability has not been there, and now we have a young, nice cricketer who is the Prime Minister of Pakistan. I think you may know him. This is Imran Khan, who led Pakistan's team and won a number of international World Cups, and was a great cricketer. He is now the Prime Minister of Pakistan, but he has a small majority. And hopefully the stability will continue. The country is moving along. The other problem which arose in Pakistan during the 80s and 90s was that the Russians tried to annex Afghanistan. So they went to Afghanistan, and the Mujahideen wanted to throw them out. So the Mujahideen when the Russians went to Afghanistan, there was an influx of refugees from Afghanistan to Pakistan.
Right.
Over 2 million Afghans moved to Pakistan. And those camps, the refugee camps, became what you call the recruiting ground for Mujahideen, and those were being supported by Americans. So the CIA and the American military supported Pakistan to support the Mujahideen to fight against Russians, to out Russians out of Afghanistan.
And now we understand why those superpowers been at it, and sometimes not directly, but through other countries. Just amazing. And then the terrorism continues and develop, and then we have I understand that refugees are now coming from as far as Bangladesh, so they're going to Europe, also going through South America to head into the United States. Is just amazing. What a world, what a life. Gonna go for the break. When we come back, we only have just a few minutes. Boy, hope my listeners have learned quite a bit from you, or I have learned quite a bit. Gonna go for the break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation with Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, retired senior World Bank official, and former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation, which is OUR, right here in Jamaica. So come back. Your friend Vernon Derby is saying to you, don't move. Welcome back, to the final segment of our conversation with Zia Mian, international consultant on energy, retired senior World Bank official, and former Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation. That's OUR right here in Jamaica. Now, some lighter things. We only have about 3 minutes left. Zia, tell us about the food in Pakistan. I know it's similar to India, and of course we have curry goat in Jamaica. I hear we get the curry from India and Pakistan. Is that so?
Yes, because as I mentioned to you, that the discovery of West Indies was the reason for spices.
Yes.
Which came from India. So you can see that the international trade at that time and the love for spices has been there for a long time, and it has brought a lot of commercial and economic and geographical revolutions.
Yeah, man.
And then that all goes back to the spices. And India has most exotic spices and exotic foods. Now, in India, as you know, the Hindus, they don't eat meat. Not really meat, but the cow. Cow is the sacred, and you cannot kill cow, and you cannot eat meat because cow is worshipped. Cow is the mother, is the peace, is the symbol of peace.
But let me ask you though, how is it? Can you give a rationale? I don't know if you can. Religion is all based on belief. Why would they worship an animal, And in this modern day and age, I'm not questioning their religion because they believe. You have persons attending universities, graduates and professors and so on. Are you telling me they still see a cow as something to worship?
Yes, it's what you call the object of reverence. If you go back to the medieval history, about 2,000 years before Christ,
yes.
Actually the civilization of India is about 7,000 or 8,000 years old. Even in Pakistan, there are the excavations of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro.
Yes.
They are about 7 year Indus Valley civilization, about 7,000 years old, and then you find these tablets and all that which have been excavated. You have the cow as a symbol on them. They are the bull and the symbol on them. The reason is that the cow was the main source. It gave milk. It was the survival depended on, and the bull was used to till the farm.
Okay.
So that and they because of the life-giving quality of the animal, it was reverent and it became the object of worship. In Hinduism, although you have the supreme god, but then you have minor gods and the minor gods. So there are thousands of gods. There is a god or a goddess for everything. And so the cow is one of the most reverent object of worship in Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
And so they cannot kill cow because it is worshipped. So they don't eat meat, but they are so versatile in making dishes out of vegetables and lentils and all that.
Yes.
That is unbelievable. And the cuisine in India it's not one cuisine. There are different cuisines in India because it depends on what part of India you are from.
Okay.
And I am basically from Punjab.
Punjab, yes.
We have a Punjabi cuisine in which the roasted meat and the chicken tikka masala and the rogan gosht and the curry, the curry goat and all that. We are very much prevalent, and at the center to the food. In addition, the rice is the most important part of your meal. Although you have a roti and chapati,
Yeah.
but and the rice is, and particularly the basmati rice, which is the most flavorful rice you can think. It is a long grain rice. It swells with then you cook it.
And we have
So
time has slipped by, we have to go get the basmati rice. We get it here in Jamaica. Very tasty. Boy, we have learned quite a lot from you. Well, I hope my listeners learn about the bandana and the origin of the bandana. Because
you never listened about the bindi.
Bindi? Quickly, you have half a second. What is the bindi?
Bindi is a small dot at the center of your two eyebrows, and it goes back to the. It's more of a Hindu. It came out of the religious concentration and all that. The mind being the center, and this is where this is the third eye through which you could see what was not seeable, and then it became a more of a ornament as a part of your the beauties and the cosmetic and all that.
Yes, we
they
see.
have a lot of cosmetics, but But
I have to
you
go now, though.
realize-
But we see women, especially with that here in Jamaica, or Indian women. Oh, yes, interesting. Have to go now, boy. There's so much to learn from you. I want to thank you very much, Zia Mian, international
You're most
consultant.
welcome, and have a
on energy.
great day, and
Right.
all the best to you and to your listeners.
Yes, and all the
Thank
best to your beautiful wife. And for those who don't recall, yes, she
I
was a
will
Miss.
do so. Take care.
Yeah, she was
Okay.
Miss Jamaica.
Bye-bye.
Constantine, yes, I just discovered that I went to school with one of her nephews. Amazing. This is just a small world. There you have it, Zia Mian. All right, let me see. Now we have Leslie, no, Paul Goodlet is celebrating his birthday today also. Leslie Evelyn, then Havendale. Faith Diagla, actress and singer. She does an excellent impersonation of Miss Lou. Belated birthday wishes to Pastor Edwin Harrison from the Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic. On a sad note, Miss Telly Horton passed away on February 11, 2020. Thanksgiving service will be on Saturday, March 14 in Highgate, St. Mary, starting at 10 o'clock. Of course, Lithuania celebrates its independence today. Thank you very much, Damien Cunningham, Rashona Fitz-Henley, and Jermaine King. Remember this, the greatest threat to human rights at this time is the threat of crime and corruption. Vernon Derby saying to you, have a wonderful day. Walk good, my friend.